Well, boom, 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 baby. We are back. We are back for another great one here. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another amazing episode of The Color of Motion. Where I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades, and I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that, hey, you know by now because you're tuning in that I'm just crazy about. You know the drill. Hop on into the comments, say, hey, where you tuning in from so I can give you the shout out that you so richly, richly deserve. I'll make sure everything is working properly there. Make sure that you hop on over to the Facebook group community. Get plugged in, join the family, facebook.com/groups/the color of motion. We definitely love for you to be a part of the family for sure. We're having great conversation, a lot of fun, get to connect with a lot of industry professionals. So make sure you hop on over and do that. Also, I want to make sure that I give a shout out to our sponsor for today's show. Thanks. Big shout out to Restream. They help us stream out to all our platforms there. So if you're a live streamer and stream out to a lot of different platforms, Restream is a great one to use to stream to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, all the great ones out there. So make sure you check out Restream because they can definitely help you with your reach for sure. All right. Miss Amanda, appreciate you tuning in. We were just talking about you there. So glad you could stop by and join us for the show for sure. So thank you, thank you, thank you. What else there? Also, make sure that you connect with me on all my social channels here. I definitely want to hear from you. Let me know, what guests you may want me to try and get on, your thoughts on the show, anything you may want me to try. But I'm always excited when I hear from people there. So you can connect with me on all my social channels for sure. Like I said, we stream each and every week, Saturday, 3 p.m. Central Time, live to the YouTube channel, the LinkedIn page, the Facebook group, and the website. But I do always kind of highly encourage people to hop on over to the YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the bell notification, comment, because it helps the algorithm for sure. And there you can watch all the past great guests we have on the show. So make sure that, like I said, you subscribe and join the channel for sure. And what else? Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, the show, this portion, I like to say part two, the way I'm doing the show this season with the little break. But the second half of season 3, like I said, is going amazingly well. Super excited to have my next guest on. He did me a big solid by jumping in. My original guest, Hannah Florestano, was unable to make it due to prior commitment, so we're going to have to reschedule with her. But I knew I could count on my man for stepping in, and I knew I wanted to talk to him about his recent experience at GDC. So looking forward to just having a fun conversation about his time there and everything to expect if you're looking to go there to get into the industry, how to prepare, and just have a fun conversation for sure. So definitely looking forward to that. What else? Miss Leontine, I appreciate you tuning in, supporting the show. Looking forward to this conversation with Demille. Yes. I knew you would be. So I appreciate you, as always, supporting the show and really keeping us lifted with everything. So thank you for sure. Man, what else? Jeez. I try and remember everything that I need to get in, but I think I've got pretty much everything good to go. So, without further ado, I think we can dive into this episode and get it kicked off. Always do that. Yes, we are back. We are back, and we are ready to get this show kicked off. Also, really quick, just wanted to give you a big heads up. The store is open, so make sure that you hop on over to the shop, pick you up some Color of Motion swag. My goal is to be seeing everybody walking around with Color of Motion swag. So my only request is if you pick up something, take a pic of yourself, shoot it over to me so I can share it on the show, share it on the social channels as well. So definitely stop on by thecoloromotion.net/swag and pick you up something nice for sure. All right. Well, like I said, I am super excited, always excited when our family members come back and stop by the show. Like I said, my next guest did me a big solid by stepping in when I needed it. But he knows he always has an open invitation to come by the show and just update us with what's going on. And today, he's going to update us with his time out in San Francisco attending GDC. So without further ado, let me introduce my next guest. Just a refresher, he's from Birmingham, Alabama, and he really loves 3D animation, particularly 3D character animation. While he has been drawing since he was a kid, his love for 3D animation came much later in life when he watched the Pixar movie Cars. And he would see the Geico Gecko commercials, and he knew at that time it was something he wanted to do professionally. He went to school to pursue a degree in animation and visual effects from the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, where he graduated in 2020. He loves all types of animation, but what he enjoys most is the type of animation you see in cutscenes in video games, like Metal Gear Solid, Spiderman, as well as the animation you see in feature films, excuse me, such as Marvel's Avengers, Star Wars, Ready Player One, and Planet of the Apes, just to name a few. He also finds it great to network with others who are either on the same journey as he is or those who have already made it in the industry. He truly believes that with God on his side, he will get the opportunity soon, which I know he will. Everybody, please help me welcome my guy, my special friend, Demille Hunt. Everybody, please give a hand to Demille Hunt. My man, Demille.
Never get tired of that intro. Love it, love it, love it.
Well, you know how I love to say we like to make our guests feel like the superstars that they are. So I appreciate you so much. I know Amanda loves it for sure, and like I said, just super excited to have you back on. I know when we talked a little while ago, and been seeing your posts on you going out to San Francisco and attending GDC for Everybody Game Developers Conference. And I wanted to have you on to really discuss your experience, how you prepared, what others that are looking to get into the industry should expect, how they should plan, and just share your thoughts on it.
Definitely, for sure. Well, thank you again for having me here, man. And it's always an honor, always look forward to coming on. So yeah, so with the Game Developers Conference, I was just there a couple of weeks ago in San Francisco, and it was really kind of a last minute decision for me because I wasn't sure that I was going. But once I knew that I was going, I went ahead and started just kind of putting everything together. And really, the goal for me was, I wanted to go and really try to just get in front of as many recruiters as I can because I knew that a lot of game studios were going to be there and a lot of recruiters for a lot of the game studios that I want to actually potentially work for were going to be there. So as far as my preparation goes, one of the things that I did once I knew that I was going, I just started searching on LinkedIn just those different game companies and seeing who was going to be there and who do I need to speak with and how do I need to sign up and so that when I'm there, I'll already have my meetings lined up and stuff like that. So that was a big thing to do. And the only thing that was probably a little disappointing was that there were a lot of studios that weren't there, and then the studios that were there, some studios had booths that you could just go and walk up to and
Yeah,
introduce yourself and talk to. And then there was like other studios that were kind of like off in the back in a little section in the back where they had these big black cubicles up and
yeah,
you had to you can tell it was kind of like by invitation only with them. And so you had if you didn't know like somebody at those particular studios, then they weren't going to be able to really see you
mm,
just as a walk up, and
yeah,
some were though, like studios that I know for a fact you could just walk up to. Iron Galaxy Studios, which they make the Street Fighter game, the Street Fighter 3 game. They did Killer Instinct. That's what they're doing now. You could just walk up to them and talk with their recruiters there. Virtuos, which is a studio that I'm hoping to hear something back on soon.
yeah, yeah,
They were there and they were really friendly, just talking to pretty much anybody that was able to walk up and
yeah,
stuff. But it was a lot, though. It was a lot of studios there. And it was definitely an event I would recommend if you are into anything involving the game development pipeline, whether
yeah,
that be animation, whether that be character design, whether that be rigging, layout, lighting, texturing, environment. You know, it's all they got something there for pretty much everybody. If you're
yeah.
into games or animation or anything in that pipeline.
Yeah, yeah. And we're gonna take a look a little bit in a little bit of some of the footage that you shot there. But I know, like in your footage that you were saying, like some companies had like demos of new games that they were developing and stuff. Was there any one thing or one game that kind of surprised you that really kind of caught your attention and looking forward to it coming out?
Well, I think there was one that I really kind of was interested in, and I didn't get a chance to really spend a lot of time with them, but it's in the video. They were doing a demo of these. It's kind of like a motion tracking for like a gun game, and this
Okay.
gentleman, he's wearing like the motion capture gloves, and I think it's by OptiTrack, and they were just demoing how you're able to use these motion capture gloves and hold the gun where you can use that as motion capture for animation.
Mm.
If you're doing like a motion capture project, so you've got this. It's not a real gun. It's like a plastic gun, but then he's holding the gun with these motion capture gloves, and it's syncing up
With
with
the
a
video.
3D model that's already on screen, and
Mm.
he's just kind of demoing it a little bit. That was real impressive. I enjoyed that. And it was there was so many different technology displays. They had one of the things I liked too was they had the MetaQuest Pro on display for just several different games, not necessarily demoing the MetaQuest Pro itself, but demoing just different games and what the experiences was like.
Yeah.
There was this one game called, I believe it's called Spatial Labs. I had a chance to demo that with the MetaQuest Pro, which is really the upgrade from the Quest 2. So I was really impressed with that Quest Pro, and now that it's come down in price, I'm kind of thinking about possibly getting one of those.
Well,
Possibly.
I know you got a Oculus, right? Is that what you got?
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah, that's the
so
Quest 2.
yeah, so are like I said, obviously they're developing like things at such a fast pace in what they're doing and
Hmm.
the technologies that they're doing with it. Was there anything that excited you about just the overall play of video games and how you're able to interact more? I remember I can't remember whether it was just a video or um, it was at a conference or something like that, but they had a device. Basically, it was like a small kind of stand that you could stand in, and it almost was like a treadmill type of thing where you were actually kind of physically, you know, moving and pointing your gun and synced up with the video and animation in the game. Were there any technologies and things, coming out that just really kind of blew you away?
I really think that demo that I did of the Spatial Labs game on the Quest Pro was really, really interesting because in their booth, they had it set up where it's basically a gun game where you're kind of shooting and ducking and stuff. And so they had these physical, like in real life, blocks and barriers that you could kind of stand behind while you're getting ready to shoot and stuff. And what was really cool about it was it was using kind of like not really augmented reality, but where the block was in real life. In the game, it was more of a cardboard, not a cardboard, but it was more of a wooden, like a wooden crate. So you're
Yeah.
hiding behind this wooden crate in the game, but in real life, it's just this big plastic or big wall. And they were really able to seamlessly integrate that. And the pass through, if you know about the Quest has that black and white pass through. So basically, when you're putting on the Quest, and before you actually start up a game, you see everything around you in real time, but it's in black and white. But you put that Quest Pro on, everything, the pass through mode is in color. So you're not so
Mm.
you're everything that you're seeing everything in your immediate surrounding in color instead of black and white. And it really amplified that particular game a lot because it seemed as though some of the things that you were looking at was still like in a real life live action setting, but it was still like a game though. You still had the soldiers running up to you and stuff, and it was like in real time. And this is like a product that you can actually get like now. So
Yeah.
that was
How
probably the
much are they
biggest.
running it for price wise?
The Quest Pro, I know that when it came out, I want to say it was around $1,400. I think they knocked it down recently to around 800 or 900 now. So because they've kind of had some, I think Meta or Facebook, they've had some issues
Yeah.
lately. So I think that might be part of the reason why they've just had to knock some things down. But it's the price point that the Quest Pro is at now, I think really is where it should have been, to be honest. And I think it'll open it up to a lot more people now.
Interesting, interesting. Again, everybody just jumping in. We're having a fun conversation with a family member Demille Hunt, Mr. Kevin Bowens. What's up, man?
What's up, Kevin?
Appreciate it. Appreciate you tuning in and stopping by, Kevin. Hope to see you on a regular basis. And my man Antoine tuning in. I don't know why. Okay, my man Antoine tuning in. Appreciate you stopping by, Antoine, and being an
that's my buddy Charles Barkley. That's who I call him.
I think that's gonna stick. Gonna stick with him for sure. Oh man, Miss Amanda, MetaQuest is the best. I'm getting close to getting a video game. Like I said, I've been kind of hesitant because I can get lost just playing video games and stuff like that. But they are so much fun playing them for sure.
It's a great experience. You know, what I like about the Quest Pro. No, well, I guess I can speak on both. I don't have the Quest Pro. I got the Quest 2, but the Quest Pro is the upgrade. But the Quest 2, man, what's cool about that is that it's so immersive that wherever you are, you put that headset on, it's almost like you're going to a different place. Yeah. Whether it be golf, whether it be bowling, whether it be you're playing a space game, whether it be, you know, they got pool tables, you know, movies you can watch where you put on this Quest Pro headset. You can go to this app called Big Screen VR, where basically you're sitting in a virtual movie theater. And Don, I promise you, it looks so real. You really feel like you're in a real stadium seating theater. And you can watch movies in 3D on your Quest, just like that. And it really makes you feel like you're at the movies. Seriously.
Wow. Man, oh man. Like I said, I'm looking forward to when I can invest in it for sure. Mr. Facebook user, I don't have your name up, and I'm really not monitoring my Facebook there, so I can't catch your name, but drop your name in there so we know. Appreciate you stopping by for sure. And we're going to take a quick look at some of the footage that Demille shot while he was out there. So let's sit and watch the experience that he had and come back.
All right, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is what is GDC and what is it for? Who is it for? The Game Developers Conference is an annual event that's held in San Francisco, California, generally in the month of March. And so this conference really is geared for people who are into games, and specifically people who just love games. Maybe you want to get a job in games. Maybe you're already in games and you want to network with people who are your peers that are in games. This conference is for you. Or if you like rigging in games or animation, if you like character design, if you're a texture artist, if you like animation like me, that's where I come in. If you like cloth simulation, hair simulation for games, or environment setup, this conference is definitely for you because they have lots of people with those same disciplines and other disciplines that are attending the conference, people that you can network with, learn more about, and a lot of studios offer jobs in those disciplines that are at the actual conference. So it's a really good conference to go to and really just be around all of that. And so one of the things that you have to do when you go to the Game Developers Conference is you have to register. And I had the Game Developers Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what you can see on the expo floor and stuff you should do. So on the expo floor, this is where you see a lot of booths from well-known studios, from smaller studios, from independent studios, from international studios. It's just a mixed bag of everything. You'll see companies that you recognize like Meta, Unreal, Unity. Sometimes you'll see on the expo floor dedicated just for international exhibitors. People from Belgium, people from Spain, people from France. They're all just there showing their games from their studios from across the world from where they are. And then of course there's studios that are here in the US that will be there. There's studios from Canada that are there. And you just get a chance to really get a feel for all of the studios that are representing on the expo floor. It's a lot of energy, it's a lot of fun. You see a lot of stuff going on there. They have game testing on the expo floor. So if you wanted to see a game that's in development and it's not quite done yet, you can actually test those games out. And I actually did that. I had a great time playing this one game that was really cool. And it's just really awesome that they offer things like that for gamers. And it's just so much stuff to see. There's an indie section where they have independent game studios there. Anything that involves a studio with a game that they're developing, typically they will be on the expo floor and they'll have representatives there to represent their studio. So if you go there, just know that it's gonna seem a little overwhelming at first because there's so much stuff to see. But if you go in with a game plan, knowing which studios you want to talk to ahead of time, that helps out a whole lot, which is going to lead me into my next point that I want to talk about is how to the expo floor now. Whereas it used to be where all of the talks were just literally, in these auditoriums in different buildings around the GDC. Now they're starting to have some of those talks actually on the expo floor, which is actually really cool. So the Expo Pass is starting to actually, in my opinion, have a little more value than it has had in the past. So I would definitely recommend any.
Nice. It looks like there was a lot of people there. Is that the feeling that you got? Have you been to it a couple of times, right? Or so?
Correct.
Do you feel like you saw a lot more people, or just kind of? I guess coming out of we're not just coming out of the pandemic, but this is kind of I don't know if this is the first GDC since the pandemic. Is it?
I want to say they had let's see, we're in 2023 now. So I think they had one in 2022, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
The ones that I went to was 2016 and 2017. That was obviously pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was really crowded both times. So I think obviously they didn't do it in 2020 or 2021. So I think 2022 was the first time since the pandemic.
Yeah.
When I was there, it may not have looked that way in the video, but there was a lot of people there. It was very crowded in certain spots. I think the expo floor, where all of the different booths are, that was where most people were kind of congregated. But, that building that I was in was called Moscone South. And then they have a West building that has all of the talks and stuff on like 2 or 3 different floors there. And so it's really just kind of spread out within like maybe a few blocks. Then there's they even had recruiters there from PlayStation who I met with, and Insomniac Games who I met with. They were like in a hotel, maybe a block down from the Moscone Center where the main everything was taking place. So they really occupied like several buildings around that area for you to experience just different stuff. It was a lot of people, to answer your question. It was a lot of people.
Gotcha. So as a creator, game animator looking to get into the industry, what are some of the kind of tips that you would share to prepare yourself to go? I mean, I know you were saying Some you could just walk up to. I know there was a portion that you had to set an appointment with them. Do you feel like that's the better route to go, to kind of set an appointment so you know you're talking to a specific recruiter for a reason, and they're expecting you?
Yeah, I would definitely say that the best way, if you know that you want to speak with recruiters there, a lot of the game studios like PlayStation, Insomniac. Now, I know that they advertised on LinkedIn where, they had one of their recruiters say, "Hey, we're going to be at GDC. If you want to meet with us, click this link to fill out a form. And once you get a confirmation, that's basically your ticket to go and meet with somebody." So I would say anybody that's interested in going into next year's GDC, if you definitely want to meet with a recruiter, or a studio, I would definitely say whatever game studio you're interested in, go to their page on LinkedIn. And most of the time, they'll start posting that stuff like a couple of weeks before the conference. And so you'll have plenty of time to kind of, go ahead and register on their link or whatever they have so you can get your name on the list. And some of the studios didn't do that. So for studios that you don't see, what I would recommend is, and this is the power of networking on LinkedIn, you just go through your network and you just start reaching out to people and say, "Hey, like let's just say if you know somebody who's going to be there from, one of my favorite game studios is Quantic Dream. They do some outstanding work. So let's say if Quantic Dream was going to be there, but maybe you don't see any postings on their LinkedIn. What you could do is if you have people in your network who work at Quantic Dream, you can say, "Hey, are you guys going to be at GDC? I'd like to stop by and meet you guys." And you can actually get a lot of meetings set up that way,
Yeah,
because not every studio is going to be advertising it like some of the bigger ones, like your
yeah,
PlayStation and your Insomniac. Some of them you just kind of got to do a little bit of legwork to link up with them.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Mr. Dwayne Coleman. Hey, Demille, appreciate you, Dwayne, stopping by for sure. My man,
That's my
Michael.
first mentor. That's my first
Awesome.
mentor. He definitely got me started, not necessarily with animation, but back when I was learning Photoshop. I mean, man, he has really been a great mentor, a great friend, a brother in Christ, just an overall really good guy. And
Awesome.
he is a great artist, man. He knows his way around Photoshop and Illustrator. Man, he can illustrate the heck out of something.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
We need to get Dwayne on there
yeah,
for
yeah. He's
sure.
good. He's good.
Miss Leontine, great footage, nice inside look for sure. Was there was there a studio that you were just biting? That was the studio that you wanted to to get a talk with. Was what studio was it that you were kind of really looking to gun for? You know?
Oh man, it was so many. I mean, like some of my favorite studios, like I said, they weren't there. So I think that for me, I think PlayStation was one that I was really kind of excited about just because I had never interviewed with PlayStation before. And so, the PlayStation meeting, honestly, it really was more so of a portfolio review because they really didn't have like real jobs that they were actually placing people for right
Yeah,
now. But it was still great to meet with the talent sourcer and just get in front of them and show them who you are, show them your work, and really, and leave a lasting impression so that when they do have those
yeah,
jobs, available for, for me, that'll be a gameplay animator. They'll be able to put a name, a face with the name and be like, "Yeah, I remember him. He does good work. Let's give him some consideration,
yeah,
for a role." So I think to answer your question, PlayStation and Insomniac were big ones, and they were really good companies to meet with. They were very transparent about the whole interview process, what your expectations are. Um, and on a side note, one of the biggest takeaways from my meeting with, and this might help somebody out, if you are interested in working with Insomniac Games, one of my biggest takeaways that I got from that meeting with the recruiter at Insomniac was, so if you're an animator, you know that you likely have to take an animation test, which normally is not like a test where you got to write down or multiple choice. No, you got to actually do an animation. And what was cool about it, they were very transparent in that they give you a week to do it.
Mm.
And if you don't have, if that's not enough time, they will actually, this is what the recruiter advised me. They said they will actually give you more time. They just want you to communicate that to them. And that's part of the actual test, because they're really testing your ability to be able to communicate how much more time you need. Are you letting them know, if you look like you're running out of time, are you letting them know ahead of time that you need
Yeah.
more time? Are you waiting till the last minute to let them know? And I just thought that was really transparent, because I didn't know. I thought once you have those animation tests, it's like all set in stone. It's like 1 week and that's it. And if you don't get it, well,
Yeah.
try again next time or something like that.
Yeah.
But they were very transparent, Insomniac Games, and I think that's one that when they have some opportunities, I will definitely be targeting them for sure.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point to relay, because I know, like I said, some people, and I've been on jobs where they were just, like I said, design jobs where they give you a test or something like that, and it's easy to get kind of flustered, knowing you still know what you're doing, but just the fact
Hmm.
that, okay, we're gonna test you, like, okay, I got to hit this
Hmm.
test to get it in, so it's good to know that that was a part of what they were really looking for, is how well you communicate with the team on letting them know where you're at status wise, and getting that job done.
Exactly. And, having taken animation tests before, I mean, I can tell you that it's a very intimidating process, but seeing how transparent they were, and really you kind of get the feeling that they're kind of like rooting for you a little bit.
Yeah,
It kind of puts you at ease a little bit through that whole process.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think that when that time comes, if it's with Insomniac, I would definitely feel at ease,
yeah.
taking a test with them if I had to.
Yeah. And Demille, I've been, I follow, your content and everything that you're doing. And I know from the first time that you were on this show to now, you've definitely grown in your animation and what you're doing. And we're going to take a look in a little bit later of his new demo reel that he took to GDC. But what do you feel like you've grown? What areas do you feel like you've grown since the last time, the first time you were on here till now, and now being able to, approach more confidently to these studios and everything? How do you feel like you've grown as an artist?
Don, that is an excellent question. The first thing that I would say is, I don't know if he's watching, he may be, but the mentor who has really, taken me under his wing and really just shown me a lot about animation, I have to give this guy credit. Matthew Sackley. This guy, I'm telling you, has been a huge blessing in my life, because I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not ashamed to say that.
Yeah,
And one of the prayers that I had was that God would send someone my way to, just, someone that would just recognize my potential, recognize my work ethic, recognize my passion, and just, be willing to just show me ways that I need to grow. Because I think back to when the last time I was on your show and I did the Saharan Defender, at that time, that was something that I was really proud of, because, that was a step from what I did when I was in school.
yeah,
So that was one step along the journey. Now, the Saharan Defender, that's no longer the standard. I have to do better than that, because, to be honest with you, it was okay. It was a nice progression, but it wasn't quite good enough to still get noticed yet.
yeah,
That's an honest truth that I had to accept, and that's okay, because everything you constantly learn and you constantly grow and you constantly get better. And so when Matt comes along, Matt Sackley, man, he has taught me all kinds of different workflows that I've never even considered before with Maya. Different things like how to retime your video reference to get your, your reference more snappy. How to block out your animation on maybe, instead of just doing it the way that I did it in school, just teaching me a completely different workflow. Maybe blocking that, starting with eights and then fours, and then just learning different tools that help the animator in Maya, like Animbot, that, where you can do like, motion tracking and temperature tracking. So if there's anything in the animation that looks jittery, that that temperature tracking tool will check it, and you can get those smoother arcs. So if you got somebody twirling a sword, it won't look jittery. It'll look really smooth because that temperature tracking tool in Animbot actually helps you out. So many different little things, like how to, constrain, like when you're, if you have a character that's wielding a weapon, how to set up an additional controller in the rig so that if the character is twirling the weapon and the weapon needs to move independently of the character's hand, you can actually use that controller to, and I know it sounds complicated, but you can use that secondary controller as a way to move independently of the animation. And I know that sounds real technical, but it's just so many different things that I've learned just under him, and he's been my mentor for like 6 months, man. And I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
this dude, I lie to you not, he takes a lot of time out of his schedule. Sometimes we have like, 2 hour, well, yeah, sometimes we have 2 hour Zoom meetings, maybe twice a week when I'm working on a project, and he's just
yeah,
kind of coaching me, showing me what I need to do. And you can really see, especially in the first few shots of my reel, where it's a lot better,
yeah, yeah.
than it
No,
was
like I said,
previously.
I've watched the growth in your animation and just your style of doing it and just the technique of how you're doing it. So I've definitely seen the progression of that. You just spoke about how important it is of getting a mentor. How did you go about connecting with him? And how would you suggest somebody reaching out to a more seasoned professional to be a mentor?
Great questions, Don. So the way that I met Matt was I had posted, I mean, we follow each other on LinkedIn, so you see a lot of my posts. But back in, I want to say it was either September or October of last year, I had made a post on LinkedIn where I was really just kind of outlining some accomplishments that I made in the month that was about to be over with. I want to say it was October, and
Yeah,
I was just, maybe, I think it was October, and I was just outlining in the post just different accomplishments I made in the month of October. And, and I was just really kind of emphasizing in that post that, this is a journey that I'm really proud of, and I'm happy with the progress that I'm making, and I'm going to keep working until I get there. And all of a sudden, I was looking at some of the likes that I had on the post, and one of them was this gentleman that I've never seen before, and I didn't think I was connected with him. So I clicked on his profile, and at the time he was like an animator at Frame Store, and I was like, cool. So I just introduced myself and told him who I was, and he replied back, and he was real laid back, real down to earth, man, and just real friendly. And we just started chatting back and forth. Next thing I know, he was like, well, hey, if you ever want to jump on a call, let me know, and I'll be happy to, to go in more detail. And ever since that time, we formed, not only has he been my mentor, but he's been, what I would consider a friend as well.
yeah,
So for people that are wanting mentors, the first thing that I would say, Rise Up Animation is a really great resource to start with, because, and what's cool about Rise Up Animation is that if you've never signed up with them before, you can actually get first dibs on getting a mentor over people that have already like been in the program, and it's
yeah.
free. You don't have to pay any money at all. This is a free thing. And you sign up, you go to Rise Up Animation. I think it's riseupanimation.org or .com. I forgot which
Yeah, and
one.
we're gonna put the
But
link
once
in
you,
for sure in the show notes
yeah,
as well.
yeah. And once you sign up with them, they will assign a mentor to you, and you'll have a Zoom call, and actually have another person. Now, this person is not my primary mentor, but she's kind of like someone who just kind of checks in every once in a while.
Yeah.
But she was the one who I met up from Rise Up. And Matt Sackley actually told me that he did Rise Up animation and he's mentored other people as well. And another thing that's of note about Rise Up Animation is geared towards African Americans or people of color that want to, you know, um, get in the industry. This is a resource for people that, if you're a person of color, they got people there that want to try to help you get into the industry by assigning mentors. And it's a great resource and it's free.
Yeah.
And the people that Matt and the other person, I believe her name is Alyssa, who is my secondary person, friendly people, and they're willing to give their time and talk to you. They're not charging anything for this. I think it's a great resource. Outside of that, I would just say, I used to have the mind. I won't lie to you. When I was on LinkedIn, I used to have this mindset where I used to really get offended if I reach out to somebody and they ghost me, and I had to, I'm so glad I graduated from that, because now it's like, next, if they don't respond, next, go to the next one. You can't let that stop you. You just got to keep going, because one thing about it, I promise you, if you get ghosted by somebody, trust me, there's somebody that will. You just got to keep at it, keep looking. Somebody will respond. Somebody will at least point you to somebody that might be able to help you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
It's a
that's what I would
very
say.
like the animation industry. I think all animators, creators, whether they're in game and film, whatever it may be, they really are kind of open to sharing and helping. You get along on your journey for sure. Mr. Wayne Carnegie, and he's another family member. We definitely got to, because Wayne's been working on some amazing stuff lately as well. So
Yeah.
definitely got to get you back on the show. But I appreciate you, Wayne, for stopping by for sure. Mr. Kevin threw the link up in there for Rise Up, and it's definitely going to be in the show notes for sure. But another thing I wanted to kind of talk with you about, Demille, is uh, just the attitude of keeping going while you're not seeing this um, immediate kind of satisfaction or just result that you're looking for. And like I said, we're both spiritual people. We both believe in God and everything. But for you, how along with your mentors and just the people around you, how have you kept kind of this mentality of just keeping through it despite still looking to get a job and get into a studio in the industry?
Don, it's so funny because it's like the questions that you're asking, it's like these are not, I have not seen these questions. And it's just so happened that the questions that you're asking are stuff that I've already thought about before the show. So to answer your question, the first thing that I would say from a mindset standpoint, you know, this journey that I'm on right now, you cannot be weak minded if you want to do this. This is not for the weak. This is not for the faint of heart. If you can't handle rejection letters, if you can't handle um, any kind of, rejection in terms of getting your hopes up for an opportunity that's coming your way, this isn't the path you need to be on. This isn't the industry for you. This is a
Or
very
even
tough.
criticism from a mentor, or a
Right,
critique from a mentor
right,
or somebody.
right. This is a very tough industry. And that's accentuated right now, especially when you look at the job climate right now. There are so many people that are losing jobs. People, I was telling my mentor earlier because we had a call earlier this morning. There was once upon a time on LinkedIn where once a week you'd see several people saying, "Hey, I just got a job at this studio," or "Hey, I
Yeah.
got a job at this studio." And now it's just the reverse. Now, on any given week, you see multiple people saying, "Hey, well, my time at so and so studio ended and now I'm looking for work." And this is just the time that we're in. So, the thing that I would say what's kept me going is, number one, I know that I'm a mentally strong person and I know that I'd have to be, because I'm telling you, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I haven't had situations where it was a gut punch. I won't name the studio, but
Yeah.
there was a game studio that I had an interview with that I really thought that I was going to get on last year. And man, when it didn't come through, I was so mad. I was hurt. I took the rest of the day off to just unplug.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was like that next day, I was like, man, I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm going to keep going
Yeah.
because this is it. I've know what it's like to work at a company where you feel undervalued or underappreciated, or you just feel like you're not living to your full potential. I know what that's like, and I've lived that life. So I know that I did not want to live a life where I'm asking myself, well, what if I just took a chance and just bet on myself? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the one thing that I can say is that, this, like, again, this is not for the faint of heart. This is not whenever you're stepping out on faith, that is not an easy thing to do. But once you can conquer that fear of doing it, I mean, it's the rest is just betting on you. There's certain things that I know that I don't have control over. I don't have control over the economy.
Yeah.
I don't have control over, the job cuts and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
what I do have absolute control over is how much dedication and time and work that I put into my craft every day. Waking up at 2 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., staying up late till 2 a.m., working on my craft. That's what I have complete control over. And that's why I know that in time, I'm going to be successful. I know it. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And it's a tough industry. You have to be tough. You have to be tough to stay with it, because I've had probably, along the process of getting better, I've had probably over 100 rejection letters.
Yeah.
And each time I've just kept going and kept going. I'm like, nope, I'm going to keep going, keep working, keep getting better,
Yeah.
keep perfecting his craft. And yeah, and that's been my mindset. And I have not given up, and I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to keep going. It's going to happen.
And that's why I know with you, it's not going to be long at all. And yeah,
And you need to
so
drop a bomb on that one too, by
yeah,
the way.
yeah, I do. I appreciate you. Appreciate you telling me that. I definitely do.
There we
I
go.
need to drop
There
a
we go.
bomb on a lot of this stuff. And really, like I said, don't mean to be throwing like these kind of questions, but these are really questions that
Yeah.
you know. One, as me as a creative as well, I'm asking myself and dealing with the same thing as far as like, sometimes you can let yourself slide into this dark place when things aren't working kind of the way you would want them to work, and how do you keep yourself going through all of that and still be effective as well. Before we continue on, Miss Amanda Wayne is incredible too. Glad to be in this network of such talented people. That's why I created it. So we could all connect and all be a part of this family and really learn from one another, feed off of each other, and just commune together for sure. Mr. Antoine, this is so funny. Demille is trying to get into the games industry, whereas me, I've been trying for years to get out of the games industries for sure. I have so many game recruiters who are always trying to offer me jobs when it's clearly stated on my LinkedIn profile that I'm only interested in film and VFX. And I'm asking this mainly because I had a conversation with Robert Paul. We were talking last night, who's been on the show, and it's a super talented children's book author,
Yeah.
illustrator, and animator himself. And we were talking about the one. I want to ask you this because this was something that we were kind of going back and forth with, and he was asking me questions about getting a full time job to kind of position him to where he could work on his own kind of stuff like that. For you, when you made that decision to, and you can clarify, how you're doing it now, as far as are you doing freelance work to supplement your income, or for you, what would being in a 9 to 5 job kind of, it obviously would slow your pace as far as kind of getting into it because you are giving an amount of time, your time, to somebody else. What was the reasoning for you to make that decision, and how have you kind of navigated through that, and made it work for you?
Yeah. I think the reasoning was definite was probably the easiest thing. The reasoning was, I just got to a point to where I'm like, I need to make a bold move if I really want to bring this dream to a reality. And I can't just sit on the sidelines and expect stuff to happen. And so, what leaving my job allowed me to do was have a lot more time to really work on my craft the way that I needed to and really devote even more time than I had before. Whereas before I was given 40 hours of my time to a job that had really nothing to do with, where I was going, maybe a little bit, but not really a whole lot.
Yeah.
And now having a lot of time to really just devote to it. And, for me, it wasn't like for me, when I made that decision to leave, it wasn't where I just decided one day, okay, it's time to go. This was like a lot of planning that went into time. I had to, put myself in a position where I was going to pay as much stuff off as I can. When I left, I wanted to make sure I didn't have any credit card debt. My cars was paid off. I I definitely saved up a lot, and I got some blessings along the way that was unexpected. Some financial blessings that really helped me out. And so for me, what I did, I just dedicated my entire time to just working on my craft. I have not really been working on a job at all. I've just been working on, what I've saved,
Yeah.
in preparation for this time so that I'll be okay. And like I said, having some unexpected blessings to come around that was really right on time, that helped a lot.
It
And I think,
usually is. God
yeah,
usually is right on time.
yeah. And I think too, I think that there is value in having um, something else, because let's just be honest, the industry that we're in right now, it is not a it is not a stable, sustainable, like a
Yeah.
traditional, like the job I left,
Yeah.
that's your traditional, you can go there and retire. The animation industry, to get constant work, you got to constantly hustle.
Yeah.
You might be fortunate enough to work on a job where, maybe you have a 1 year contract with this studio. And hopefully you can finish that 1 year out, because sometimes, some people get cut before
Yeah.
that year.
Before that.
But
Yeah.
then if you're able to stay there, for that 1 year, around the time when that contract is up, of course you start looking months ahead so you can start to get something lined up after.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. You can work at a studio for that whole year, and then it might be another 6 or 7 or 8 months before some work comes in.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is right now. And right now, especially, it's really challenging to get work
Yeah.
because, you know, junior roles, they're very scarce. They're very, very scarce. Everything is senior animator, mid senior, something where they're wanting you like 5 years experience.
And,
So
and
I,
to that, is that as frustrating to you as it is to a lot of people when they say they want all these years of experience, but how do you get the experience if you don't get into the? You understand what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very frustrating. I think that one of the things that I've been told that helps out a little bit when you're looking at those job applications, when they say like, of course they're different. Some may say 2 years, some may say 3 years, some may say 5 years, and this might be something that might help somebody out. If you're looking at a job application for any kind of art role and they're wanting, 3 years experience, that's considered a junior role. So if you're a junior, whatever, junior, animator, junior graphic designer, junior rigger, junior environment artist, junior comp artist, you can apply to that even if you don't have any experience, because a lot of times those are just what they call a wish list. That's what the recruiters, that's what they're shooting for. Now if it's a 5 year, and you don't have any experience, that might not be the role that you want to apply to, because they're really looking for someone that's like mid senior level. But what I was told by my mentor and what I've heard from other senior animators who've been in the industry for a while is if you see something that you're applying for and it says 3 years and you've never worked at a studio, you should go ahead and apply because that's still considered like a junior level role. And a lot of times they're just looking to see like how good your work is. If you're doing the work on the level that they're wanting you to be able to produce on, then they can work with that. So that
Yeah.
definitely makes a difference too.
And I know another thing, Robert and I were talking about is just like kind of what you mentioned a minute ago as far as how the culture is changing, where they're not necessarily hiring a lot of people. They're doing a lot more contracting as far as like project based. Once the project is
Mhm.
done, they and you see that with a lot of studios, they let go of a lot of artists once whatever project they're working on is done and completed. Do you see that as the way the industry, a lot of studios are kind of going? They have kind of a core group of full-time employees, but the majority are more contractors that are project based.
Definitely. I'm seeing a lot more jobs where, well, the jobs that are there are more contract based, especially in games. You see, with companies like, PlayStation, it might be a 9 month contract, it might be a year contract. Even in the big production studios, the staff jobs. Now there are no, there are some studios that do offer staff jobs though. Like Iron Galaxy is one. The studio that I mentioned that
Yeah.
does the Killer Instinct game and the Street Fighter 3. Now I had an interview. It was more or less a meeting, not really an interview, but they basically said that they only do staff positions there. The only caveat to that is if you're working with Iron Galaxy, you got to be either in Nashville, Orlando, Chicago, or Austin, Texas, I believe. So
Mm.
you have to be physically in one of those places. But other places like I want to say Insomniac, I believe they do contract. I know PlayStation does contract, and really just a lot of the game studios they do the contract work. From what I've seen, you don't really see a lot of the staff roles anymore. There are some people can get them, but it's
Yeah.
more contract based. It seems nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember, and it's funny because I was listening to her show. Deborah Anderson had with a couple of her guests. Um, Deborah, who's been on the show with Black Woman Animator, and Monique, I think Robinson, Monique from Simply Robotics. They were doing like a
Hmm.
podcast with another one. And I think that their topic was, do you need to be in the city where the industry kind of is? And I know they're kind of more in film and this and that, but to that, do you feel like your situation and your opportunities would be different if you move to where a lot more of the game studios are at, as opposed to being in Alabama where you're at now?
It depends because the thing about it is, I think with the current job climate that we're in, it's constantly changing, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. So, Activision Blizzard, for example, just maybe about a month ago, they made the announcement that they're starting to have everybody to return to office.
Mm-hmm.
Now, prior to that, they were hiring people where you could work remotely from almost anywhere in the US.
Yeah.
Even in Alabama, they were pretty much, hey, if you worked because I actually, reached out to a recruiter and asked them directly. And she was like, yeah, if you're in Alabama, we have something set up there so that you could work remotely from Alabama. And so there are still places that will allow you to work remotely, but it's really kind of a mixed bag. There are some studios that are just they're so pretty much wanting you to just be there. And then there's some that are like, I've had several, like I had quite a few interviews last year, well, a couple of interviews where they were like, no, you can actually stay where you are. you know um they were kind of smaller studios.
Yeah.
But I think some of your bigger studios, like your EA, your well, there's another one like Insomniac Games, for example. Now, that's another reason why I really kind of want to target them, because Insomniac, the way they're set up right now, and they have a map of the U.S. of all the states that they can actually hire from remotely. If you go to their Instagram page, not Instagram, their LinkedIn, and go to Insomniac Games, they have a map, and pretty much almost every state in the country you can actually work remote from. So it really just depends. It depends on the studio. You know, there's studios in Canada. From my experience, a lot of those Canadian studios, it's very rare that they will hire someone to work remotely from the US. They want you to be in Canada because there's like tax incentives and stuff like that. But it's a lot of game studios like PlayStation, Insomniac, where you don't have to move, you know.
Yeah.
Now, feature film might be something different. I'm not sure about feature film, but for games, for a lot of studios, they can have you to. It's just some, like I said, the Activision Blizzard, they're doing something different where they want everybody to come to California now, whereas it used to be you could work remotely. But I mean, PlayStation, Insomniac, you know, even small studios that probably not that many people have heard of, like Studio Wildcard. I had an interview with them, and they told me that they could actually hire me from Alabama.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just a mixed bag.
Was that something that was important to you, or was that has that something that you even considered while you started really diving into getting into the industry, that about moving, or man, no, I really want to stay in Alabama and I really don't want to move out, that type of thing? Because I know Monique was saying the same thing. Of course, her situation is a little bit different because she's got family there, and she wanted to stay in the Bronx in New York. But having that thought of, well, geez, do I, if I want to get into the industry, is it something I really need to consider moving? To kind of get into it. I know it's a little different with film and games, but for you, like I said, was that something that one was, something you didn't want to do, or something that, like I said, as you've been going along on this journey, that you kind of considered?
Yeah. Good question, Don. And I'll tell you something that's tricky. And here's the reason I say that. When you consider moving, the one thing that you really have to think about is, okay, am I moving for a 9-month contract position, or am I moving for a staff position? I'm in a situation where I have a mortgage, and I would not feel comfortable, even though it would be a blessing to get a 9-month contract, for me to pick up and move on a 9-month contract with no guarantees afterwards. That's a huge risk unless you're just completely comfortable with just picking up and moving. So for me, what really drives me with moving, number one, I'm completely okay with moving from Alabama. I mean, I was born and raised here, but I know that there are many other opportunities like in Atlanta, California, even Tennessee, and especially in Texas. Like Austin, Texas is booming, several game studios there. So what drives my decision to relocate is based on, what are they offering? Are they offering, at least a year or two, like a year or two contract? Is this a staff role? Is this something that's 6 months? If it's 6 months, I may as well just stay here and work it remotely. If they're offering me a 6-month contract, well, it's probably just in my best interest to stay here, because it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to pick up, figure out what I'm going to do with my house and do all of that stuff. And then after 6 months, you're like, where am I going to live? So you have to kind of think about it from the standpoint of, if they're offering more, then you probably want to do more for that particular role. If it's a staff job where you guaranteed, to be there, and nothing is really guaranteed these days, but at least 2 years, then it's probably something to think about with moving. But for a 6-month or 9-month contract, unless you're already in an apartment, when you can just pick up and move,
Move,
then
yeah.
it's just real tricky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Let me get through some of these comments for sure. Mr. Wayne, I love the passion Demille has for his craft. No, definitely, and like I said, I have so much. That's why we're buds, man. I have so much respect for his passion for really seeing his dream come to fruition, and the work that he puts in. It definitely inspires me. I get inspired along with everybody else. It definitely keeps me going for sure. Mr. No Parking, Juan, good Saturday down in DeMille. Appreciate you stopping by. That's an interesting application hack that DeMille shared. Even if the job posting says 3 years experience is needed, those who are technically juniors can still give it a shot. Yeah, I think a lot of it, I think they put in there just to see whether or not you're going to apply or, like I said, follow what they're saying in the application. They just want to see whether or not you're still going to apply anyway. Because in the end, like you said, it is, if you got a killer ass demo, they're not gonna they're gonna reach out to you if their work is superior, up to par or even superior. There's no way they're gonna let you go by without reaching out and giving you a shot for sure.
That's
It's
right.
all about your portfolio, your portfolio. Your work needs to be solid. Your work needs to match these companies' products. If your work is not equal to their product, then it's going to be tough for juniors. Yeah, I mean, bottom line is they're they want to see the quality of your work and what you can do.
Hmm.
And if they feel like, hey, this guy can easily slide into what we're doing, they're gonna hire you for sure. Mr. Robert, we were just talking about you there. Only thing about Austin is the pay. It seems they're behind on the industry standard. Any thoughts?
That's good to know because I did not really consider that. As far as Austin, I was really just considering more so the opportunities that are there because I know that I know Visual Concepts, which is a studio that does like the WWE 2K and the NBA 2K games. They're there. EA is there, and there's other ones. I think Gearbox is there, and there's a few more. There's a few more. But in terms of pay, I have not considered that. So that's interesting. That's something I'll definitely need to check out as far as Austin and the pay is
Yeah,
concerned.
yeah, and it's and like I said, I'm sure it's depending on where you're at, and obviously, if you were living in California, the cost of living in California is way high. So how that contrasts with what they're paying you definitely goes into play and into the decision. I'm curious. I'm pretty sure a lot of the studios and companies that were there were having, after parties, like you said, one was at a hotel and that type of thing. Did you take, and that's where a lot of the big part of the networking and building relationships kind of go hand in hand with over drinks and just in a more social type of thing. Did you take advantage of any of that, those opportunities while you were out in San Francisco, kind of going and kind of mingling in the after parties and type of things like that?
I should have done the after parties. When I was there, I kind of had a tunnel vision. I was like, I just want to hit this expo floor and hit up every recruiter that I can potentially reach to. And so I knew that there were after parties there. But by the time, man, I got through talking with all those recruiters every day, I was just tired. I was ready to go back to the hotel,
Lay that.
and so I didn't get a chance to do that. But looking back though, I kind of wish I would have added that on too, because you just never know. But it's a lot done, because I mean there's a lot of walking, there's a
Yeah,
lot of it takes, from a physical standpoint too, and that's the one thing I probably hadn't talked about. You have to be physically ready, because there's a lot of walking around, between those buildings, and you have to be
yeah,
very rested up. Make sure you got all your energy for that, because it can wear you out too.
yeah.
It's a lot to it.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, like we were talking about earlier, it is. uh, a lot of walking. It's overwhelming, and I was telling you, earlier before the show, I had gone to Seagraph one year, and it was just like I said. I didn't particularly go, for the expectation of trying to find a job, but just I wanted to experience Seagraph. But it's just an overwhelming experience, and there's just so much to see. It's like being a kid in a candy store when you're seeing all this stuff that you want. Oh, I want to go to this booth. I want to go to this booth. Having a plan, especially if you're, like you said, going there specifically to connect with studios and really get into the industry and make connections. Have how important it is to have a plan in the companies that you want to hit and target. I know on your video you had showed like a lot of they had a section for international companies. Was that something that a lot of any of the companies that were there on the international side that you had heard of before, or was any of those that kind of stood out to you that were more international companies?
Most of the studios that were there from the international side, those were ones that I wasn't too familiar with. And the thing about it is, I think there are studios that I am familiar with that are international studios. Like for example, Quantic Dream is
Mm,
probably my favorite game studio of all time because they made like the Heavy Rain, Detroit Become Human, Beyond Two Souls. I mean, these are awesome games. If you got a PlayStation 4, I wonder they might put it on Xbox, but the games are basically just they're story heavy and it's real deep, man. It's so good. But I say all that to say Quantic Dreams is like a studio in France, and I did not see them there, and I would have loved to have had an opportunity to talk with them because I really love the games that they make. So I say that to say the international studios that were there, I was not that familiar with. They were probably some of the smaller ones. So, but the big ones, the ones that I know about, unfortunately, they weren't there.
yeah, yeah, no, for
Hmm.
sure. Um, Mr. Robert, again, it's the housing market. It's just more expensive. That's days. That's days there. Uh, yeah, I mean, I know
It
Austin
wouldn't
is
surprise me.
yeah, I know Austin is booming, which is probably why, like I said, it is definitely probably more expensive, just to live there than in say where I'm at, Houston, which isn't that far from Austin. But here in Houston, we don't have kind of like the big gaming industry that Austin has in studios here, like Austin has. So I would expect that Austin probably is a little more economically higher for sure.
Hmm.
Um, let's take a quick look. Like I said, like I said, I appreciate everybody that's been jumping in. We have been having a fun conversation, and to be honest, I didn't script this one or write out any questions because I just really wanted to have a free, or more freer flowing conversation with Demille, which is why I've been asking the questions that I've been asking because they're kind of questions that have been sticking in my mind lately. Because, like I said, I am so impressed with one how you're kind of doing this, Demille, and
Thank
getting
you.
yourself in the industry, your dedication for really getting better at your craft. And I know as me, for me, it's always been that kind of like tough challenge of you're wanting to do something else, but then you feel like and like I said, Robert and I had a long conversation last night about this. Just having to take care of, your needs. You pay your
Right,
bills and all of that kind of stuff.
right.
How do you manage all of that? And particularly even tougher when you have a family like Robert does, has a little girl and a wife that you have. It's a little different with me because I don't have kids and I don't have, kind of a wife, that type of thing. But how do you take care of the daily things that you need to take care of and still go after your dreams? So I'm always curious about that when I
Hmm.
talk to creatives and how they're going about their journey, type of thing.
Yeah. And I think, to your point, I think if I was married and had kids, this would probably not be the best thing right now. But I think for me, because it is just me, and because I've been kind of working for a while and was able to really just kind of put away, money for a long time, it's really just kind of made things a little bit easier. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, there's been some times I've had to kind of finagle here and finagle there, and move some stuff around, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's part of it too. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not, it's not something, like I said before, this is not for the faint of heart. This is
No.
not for the weak. You have to plan. Sometimes you have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
I've had to cut some stuff that maybe, just the like the monthly subscription stuff, and
Yeah.
all, I have to cut some of that stuff out to make it work,
Yeah.
and just do that. And yeah, it's different for everybody, because everybody, if you're married, then then maybe hopefully your spouse, you can kind of work with them and they can be
Yeah.
patient with you while you're working. But when it's just you, it's just you,
Yeah.
and you have to daily, you know figure out, okay, so how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that? And I just think for me, what's really helped the most is just knowing that I was going to do this and saying, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay down all of my bills, everything that I can pay off.
Yeah.
And like I said, if I had like a car note and all that other stuff, it would have been real
It's
hard,
hard.
you know.
Trust me.
But
It's hard.
yeah, yeah. And I'm so grateful that my cars are paid off, and I don't have any credit card debt. And, that helped out a lot. That was helping me to save more money.
Yeah.
And then I was also investing,
Yeah.
in the stock market
Yeah.
before I left. So I had like, a lot in my Robinhood that I was
Yeah.
investing in, and so
Y-
that helped. I didn't mention that earlier, but the investments and a lot of stocks. Now
Yeah.
I'm not investing now because the stock market is crazy, and I'm scared to put my money in there. But
Well,
but
I'm the
I
type of
still
person.
have.
I'm like Bill. I'm like Warren Buffett. I think the downtime is the best time to invest. When the
Yeah,
market is bad and stocks are just it's just crashing. That's the best. That's the best time to really invest in stocks.
well,
But
you
I
know
do.
what, I think
No,
I
go ahead.
think what I would do, I was just gonna say, I think that's good. I think what I would do is I would just put in, I just kind of inch my way in. I wait till it just hits all the way to the bottom until it can't go down anymore, and then I'll start kind of gradually loading up, because it's just been, man, stocks that used to be really great stocks, they have, man, I don't know. Like, I remember one time AMC was this big thing, and it was like at $80 or almost $70 a share. And I looked at it the other day and it was like $4 a share now. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's
It,
just knowing, like you said, to your point, when it's bad like this, probably is the best time to invest. But I just think that for me, I'd have to make sure that it's going all the way through the floor before I put some money in there, because
it's
I don't want
hard.
to.
It really is
Yeah,
hard to gauge that. I mean, you try and do the best you can. One, I'm a kind of person that I usually invest in stocks that of companies that I either use the product and love the
hmm,
product, and
yeah,
it's not a company that's going anywhere. Like Ford,
yeah,
their stocks may go, and actually their stocks are pretty low. Ford, they're not going anywhere for they're a company that's not going anywhere. So eventually, it's going to go up. Everything's kind of cyclical. I mean,
yeah.
it goes down, and the market goes down, and it goes up. Now
It
you can be
does.
one
Yeah,
of those ones that are like a day trader where you're trying to hit that right time, which I'm not
hmm,
like that. I'll just buy stocks in companies that are just good and that I love, their stocks or I love their product. Like Apple, I've always bought
yeah,
Apple.
yeah.
I wish I'd have
And
kept
let
a
me
lot of
say
my
this
Apple
too,
stock.
because yeah, I mean, that was another thing that I did too. Like right when I left my job, I was doing some day trading, and there was a lot of times I would hit, and I would get some money, and then I'd lose some money, and I don't day trade anymore. I'm done
Oh
with day
man,
trading, man. It is just
I'm a
way
long
too
term
risky.
investor myself.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
invest
yeah.
in the long haul, but yeah, I think like what you were saying, as far as just sacrificing. I think anything that you're gonna any dream that anybody is gonna want to do, you have to sacrifice something in order to get something else. That's just the
Hmm.
nature of the law. You're gonna
Yeah.
sacrifice something, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's energy. Something you're gonna have to sacrifice in order to get something else. So I
And I
think
and
that's why I have such respect for you because, like I said, you're willing to sacrifice certain things in order to get what it is you want.
and I'll just say this too, without giving going into too much detail. I cannot stress enough that your faith has to be there. Your
Yeah.
faith in God has to be there. Because I mean, through all of this done, I still have a very high credit score. Thank God for that. And I just think that comes from just wisdom, just being wise, and knowing when to spend and knowing that, okay, I'm not gonna run this credit card up. I'm gonna do what I can, but I mean, it's just you really have to, your faith really has to be there. If your faith isn't there, it's not for you, and
Yeah.
I know it may sound cliche, but I'm telling you, man, it's been some times God has opened some financial doors that I did not know was coming.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And so I have to add that in there too.
Yeah. No, for sure. And like I said, Robert and I had a long, long conversation about that as well. And I was just telling him a lot of instances that I had gone through,
Yeah.
and just that, at your at my darkest moment, God showed up and really one brought the right people and the right things into my life to let me know, hey, I got you. You're not, I'm not gonna let you just crash and burn.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how dark you see it is, I see you, type of
Yeah.
thing, and just believing in that as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Antoine, Don DeMille's live stream video is so damn smooth and amazing and professional. Now my life. Hey, I have no control over the type of camera,
I remember that
audio,
day. I remember
and
that.
he is just Antoine is Antoine. I'm gonna have to have you back on because you're just
Yeah,
not
yeah,
gonna let
yeah.
me live that down. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. And I know definitely, and it was funny. Definitely after Antoine's show, I had to make some adjustments just on my end because it was
Yeah.
the way I was having some things set up. It was overloading my computer, and I was running out of space because as I'm recording this, it's saving the video. So once, like I said, it saves my video, saves your video independently. So I was saving all of this stuff, and I hadn't adjusted. So Antoine, my apologies. I'm definitely gonna have you on because he is just not gonna let me live it down how his
Yeah.
show.
He was a great guest. I enjoyed that show. That was a great guest. Yeah.
Oh man, Antoine's my guy, man. I love Antoine,
Hmm.
so definitely got to have you back on. Um, Mr. Robert, got to listen to his voice. He will tell you for sure. I will always speak to you at your darkest times. You just got to be still enough to hear it,
That's
and
right.
faithful enough to believe it and follow it, and just know that he's not gonna let you just crash and burn. He may
Amen.
let you get kind of close to see how strong your faith is, but you gotta believe, for sure. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you, for sure. Never leave you, never forsake you. And like I said, everybody's got their own belief, their own, religion and all of that. I'm a Christian. I believe in God, and I believe, like you said, He will never leave me, even in my darkest hour. He will never ever leave me or forsake me. I know
I'll
you're just
just
messing
add
with me,
in,
Antoine.
yeah, I'll just, for the believers out there, the scripture that gets me going every day, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you, Plans to provide you a hope in the future.
Oh man, yeah.
And
I remember
yep.
when I was really at my darkest place. Maybe about a year and a half ago, I was going through a really bad time, and I remember, man, I was laying on my couch just crying, man. How am I gonna get this? I was just having such a hard time, and I remember he clearly told me, go into your room and get your Yolanda Adams CD and listen to "In the Midst of It All."
I love that
And
song.
it just carried me through so much. I wish I could tell her because she goes to my church. I wish I could
Yeah.
tell her
Yeah.
uh, how that saved me. You know how that song
Mhm.
just kept me going enough to keep my head above water and not give up. So, like I said,
Yeah.
he just will not let you. He won't let you drown.
Amen. Amen. And you know what, Don? I mean, your guests are getting such a bonus today. We've been talking about animation, stocks. You're getting some
Get the
word,
word in
boy.
there. That's why I
You
knew
getting it
this was
all
going to
today,
be a
man.
great show.
Yeah.
And it's all about inspiring. I mean, we all pull our
Hmm.
inspirations
Yeah.
from different places. And like I said, we talked about this before the meal. You know, when you came on the first time and when you connected with me and said you would be a guest on the show, you're immediately part of the family. And so that's why it doesn't matter when you want to come on or anything like that. I always love when family members come back on the show and really share. And I always know that you got something great to share. And like I said, I've been following what you are. I continue to follow everybody I connect with and make friends with and see their path because it helps to keep me going in what I want to do and the dreams that I want to achieve. So I've just been so impressed with one, your growth as an animator, your growth as a person, how you're working your plan and sticking to it, regardless of the challenge. I'm curious though, when you decided to do this, I know some people give themselves a time limit, kind of like say, okay, I'm giving myself a year, or I'm giving myself 8 months, or I'm giving myself this amount of time to try and see that. Did you even consider that, or is that something that you consider? Like, I'm giving myself a certain amount of time to really to get a job and get into the industry.
Well, I will say this. When I left my job, I did not know that it was going to take quite this long. I knew it was going to take a while. I didn't know it was going to take quite this long. But for me, I mean, you know, whatever it takes at this point, I don't care. If it means that, even if I have to necessarily just work a job just to keep my dream alive, so be it.
Yeah,
But I'm not giving up, Don. I
yeah,
mean, until my very last breath, I will be pursuing this dream. I will not give up. This is something that I have invested so much of my time in, resources. Um, there's no quit at this point,
yeah,
because if that was the case, then I should have just stayed where I was. You
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So yeah,
And
there's
I
no
say
turning
that,
back.
yeah, and I say that because, like I said, this was something else that Robert and I were talking about last night, and which is why I have such respect for this guy as well, Joshua Leonard.
Hmm.
Joshua,
Yeah.
if you watch his job, he still works at Home Depot and has worked
Yeah.
there for 17 plus years
Yeah.
while he is working his dream and an amazing, talented character designer. So that's why, you know, those kind of things just help inspire me. Even going back to a 9 to 5 job, knowing that, hey, I still, I got my 9 to 5 job to take care of my bills and this, but I could still go after my dream and achieve my dream. That's the type
Yeah.
of people that really helps fuel me and keep me going.
And you know something? That's a really smart thing that Joshua is doing because I'm connected with him on LinkedIn, not well, Instagram, I know, but I see his journey as well. And I think that's smart. because I mean, he's smart enough to know how the industry is. You don't want to just put everything and then, something happens, but he's got that stable position, where he is at home. I mean, hey, I would do if it was where, if I was really feeling fulfilled, with
Yeah.
what I did previously, then I probably would have stayed and still tried to make things work. And I think that's the difference. You can tell even with what he does with Home Depot that he loves what he does.
Yeah,
So
he loves.
I
That's what I
think
mean.
that,
He loves working at
yeah,
Home Depot, and he's really
yeah,
a committed employee for Home
mm-hmm,
Depot. And
yeah,
just as much passion as he shows in his artwork and his drawing and his dream, you see that
mm-hmm,
same kind of passion when he's posting about what he's doing at Home Depot. That's like I
yeah,
said, the type of stuff that really just impresses me. And I'm like, man, okay, I really
yeah,
need to step up to it
yeah.
now.
Yeah. I mean, it inspires me, man. He was one of the first people that I connected with because, I always, whenever I see a person of color get their start, I know he's not animation, but he's more character design, but still, that's still a part of that industry.
Yeah.
When I see somebody, get their start, their first start, man, and I think he had, years ago he was doing something with Minions, and I
Mm-hmm.
just, man, I ain't even really know the dude at that point, and I shared his post on my Instagram. And I was just inspired, man. So
I'm telling you.
I love to see us get our start and see us, win, and it's a good thing to see.
Now, like I said, and I tell Joshua this all the time. He's my guy, man. He took a chance on me when I started this show, my very first guest. So I always have mad love for Joshua and mad respect for him, and his work
Hmm.
ethic and how he's going about seeing his dream come true and stuff. Despite any setbacks that he deals with, for sure.
Right.
Let's throw some stuff in here. Let me see. Miss Amanda, amen, down in Demille. Yeah, we did a little church in here, got a little word in for people. That's always a good thing. So we appreciate
Hmm.
that. Mr. Michael got that right about faith. He has been creating miracles for me that I didn't see coming with collaborations this past year. Awesome. Awesome. Like I said, God's ways are not our ways. We cannot
That's
even
right.
comprehend them for sure.
That's
Uh,
right.
Mr. Michael, still some challenge. There's always going to be challenges. Always going to be, even when you feel like you're at your pinnacle, it's just a new
Hmm.
set of challenges and new things that you got to deal with. Um, Mr. Robert, you know it, Demille. You can't give up. Demille's not giving up for sure. So, Mr. Michael, wow, that's my logo illustration and slogan and song I wrote. Pursue it again for sure. And Joshua's my guy. Both of us is in Atlanta. Yeah, like Joshua. Follow your heart, Demille. I have so many connections in the game industry. Yeah, you definitely need to really get plugged into Antoine. Plugged in with Antoine Demille.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hook
Um,
him up on that because,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
definitely.
trying.
I'll be reaching out to him soon.
Antoine's
Yep.
funny that I'm trying to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
rid of.
Yeah.
But you need any help with that, I probably hook you up too, bro, for sure.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
I tell you, you're something else, man. You are just
Yeah.
something else for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, like I said, for everybody that's just joining in, we've been having just the funnest conversation with my man Demille and talking with him and stuff. Let's take a quick look at his reel that he put together specifically for the gay GDC, and we'll come back in a minute there. Nice, nice. Um, I'm kind of curious. Um, is it different in the game space where your character, your 3D character animator, you're not, are you rigging it as well? Or is it like film where they got riggers that rig the characters and then they pass that on to the animators that animate it?
Yeah, it's really in terms of the character rigs with games and film, they're quite similar. But to answer your question, I'm not doing any of the rigging at all. So
Okay.
when I get, when I do like a shot or something, I mean, it's already rigged, and all I have to do is just get my reference set up right and then bring it to life. So for me, it's all about just bringing personality and life in a believable way to the character, and
Yeah.
the rigging part. I would actually like to learn rigging, but it's just, I don't know. I have done rigging before on a very basic level, but I didn't really like it. I didn't really like it. I think that as an artist, I know there's a certain art form to rigging, but
Yeah.
I like the art of bringing the character to life, not necessarily building the character with bones and
Yeah.
controls and stuff like that. I just like bringing the character to life. That's
Yeah.
to me, that's where the fun is. But
Yeah. Yeah.
for people who know how to rig, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't like it though.
Now, trust me, I'm the same
Yeah.
way, and like I said,
Hmm.
you quickly learn what area you want to go down. While like I
Yeah.
said, I've rigged a couple of characters generically and stuff, basically and stuff like that, and put bones in. I don't think I could do that or would want to do that as a day in day out type of job.
Hmm.
But you do
Yeah.
quickly kind of figure out. I love modeling as opposed to animating. I
Hmm.
love animating. I love rigging. I love coding, whatever it may be. That's I think the
Yeah.
beauty of kind of getting into uh, a studio. You start to see what it is that the path that you really do kind of want to go down, since there are so many paths to kind of go down for sure.
True. True. True.
Excellent work, Mr. Dewan. Excellent work. Mr. Antoine, nice stuff there, bro. Miss Amanda, awesome work. Demille, for sure. Mr. Michael, awesome work. Um, what was for you one of the things your mentor kind of said you needed to kind of work on when you started talking with him? What was kind of the first big thing that he said he wanted you to look at and really kind of work at?
Body mechanics and fundamentals, because that's really what it all boils down to. Getting those body mechanics right, understanding when a character is walking, how the hips are moving, in conjunction with the chest. What is the paying attention to, if you're like in a walk cycle, paying attention to how the feet are moving with the hands, because when you walk a certain way, there's a certain hand movement that kind of coincides with your feet, and just really understanding the fundamentals, of animation, because really at the end of the day, it all kind of goes back down to that. If you got a character that's jumping, then you really just kind of referencing the classic bouncing ball and understanding what's happening when that character takes a jump and he gets up to the top of the jump and then he comes down. It's the same principle as the bouncing ball. The ball, it slows down as it, rises up, and then it picks up speed, or it picks up speed and then it comes to a slowdown near the top, and then it
Yeah,
speeds back down again as it comes down. And it's just little fundamentals like that, understanding. But body mechanics was a big one, and that was what really, made a huge difference. Getting those body mechanics down, and when you do that, that's when you really start to see that believability come into play.
yeah,
That's when it starts to look like, it doesn't look like an animation anymore. Now it's looking like, okay, so this is starting to look real. This is starting
yeah,
to look like a real person, a real character doing something,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And
And
it's
I
so tricky
always
because, like, yeah,
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I was just gonna say it's so, because if you get one little thing off,
Yeah.
if the character's, knee is going the wrong way or something like that, then it just throws everything off, and it makes it look like you're just watching maybe an animation versus something that's like real and believable now,
Yeah.
you know.
It really does take a lot to turn an inanimate to make an inanimate object really have emotion and really be believable. How much
Hmm.
of that? Because I always love watching animators show their reference material that they either shot of themselves or are using to animate their shot. How much do you do of shooting your own reference material, or do you go online and find kind of body mechanic, footage to kind of animate along to? What's kind of your process for when you're getting into animating a character?
I do a mixture of both, like on my reel, like the very first character, Ryu from Street
Yeah,
Fighter, which I just
yeah,
gotta
he's a
say
Street
I'm a
Fighter
huge Street
fan.
Fighter fan, so just had to put that out there. But Ryu, that was one where I just had a really good reference of this. I want to say he's kind of like a fight choreographer, and I mean, he just had an outstanding reference. And when I saw it, I was like, "That's the one. That's the one that I want to, animate this particular shot off of." And so, what was kind of cool about that particular shot was, not just following the reference to a T, but being able to kind of add your own little nuances there. You know,
Yeah,
like instead of him just coming right out of his fight stance and going right into the first punch, having an anticipation and then going into that first punch and just doing little things like that. And that's one of the things too that I've learned a lot, with Matt is just learning how to add those little subtle, and I'm still learning, but
yeah,
just adding those subtle little nuances and not just, basically rotoscoping a reference. You don't want to
yeah,
do that. It's a good skill to know how to do that, but you want to be able to add like your flavor to it
yeah,
and just add subtle nuances that makes it stand apart from a video reference.
yeah.
So to answer your question, I'm getting into shooting more of my own reference when I can. Like when I on the part of the reel where the soldier is running with the gun, I actually did that one myself. I did my own reference for that. But like some of the where the character is twirling the weapon and does the sword slash, all of those were videos that I saw on YouTube and I just did that way. But I do want to start getting more. I want to do even more of my own reference, especially with some of the. But it's just that a lot of times on YouTube, man, I mean, they just got so many good references out there. It's like, unless you just really want to do it yourself and challenge yourself, you ask yourself, well, can I get it better than this fight choreographer who does this
Yeah,
all the time? And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
probably not. And so I'll just go ahead and use that.
yeah.
But yeah, I try to use reference when I feel like I can add something to it and do something kind of special on my own.
Gotcha, gotcha. Mr. Dwayne, really impressive. Demille, Miss Leontine, of course, nice reel for sure. Antoine, exactly everything that you said, Demille, is 100% correct. Body mechanics is the key, especially in games, for sure, for sure.
And
the eye can,
and I
can no,
go ahead, go ahead.
now, I was just gonna say the eye is really good at picking up those odd kind of movements that just don't feel right or don't seem right.
Hmm. And one of the biggest things that I'm learning, the animation for games versus feature film, is where feature film, like if you're doing something for now, don't get me wrong, it's got to look really, really polished, super, especially if you're working at Pixar, you got to really polish that thing. But the biggest difference between film and games is that with film, it does not have to necessarily look good from every angle. In games, whatever you're, especially if you're like a gameplay animator,
Yeah,
where you're animating a character doing punches or shooting something or swinging a sword, it has to look good from every angle because the character is moving in 3D space and
space.
moving
Yeah,
around. So it has to look good from every angle. And that's the biggest difference I've seen so far just working with
gotcha,
games. Yeah.
Gotcha. And like I said, we're these shows go by so fast. I tell you, we're almost running
Yeah.
on 2 hours of
Man,
show.
it's almost 2 hours. I ain't even pay
And
attention to
me and
that.
Demille,
Wow.
I know, could go for another 2 hours. Just yeah, and we
Yeah.
probably will after the show for sure.
Yeah.
But it's been like I said, which I knew was going to be an amazing show and episode. And like I said before, I so appreciative that you were able to step in when my originally scheduled guest wasn't able to make it because of a prior conversation. So I can't thank you enough, bro, for stepping in and really sharing value and your journey and how it's going with you so far. Like I've told you, you're part of the family now, so you always have an open policy to come on and just stop by the show, jump in and share what's going on with you. And I know because of how I've seen you work, it's not going to be long at all before that blessing does come to you. So I have no worries about that, Demille, for sure. And I can't help but thank you for helping to continue to inspire me to continue on my journey and where I'm going. So everybody, like I said, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed it, and appreciated Demille for coming on and sharing. Demille, if you could hang out, for a minute in the green room while I close out, so we could talk a little bit more, definitely. But everybody, please help me thank Demille again for coming on and being a part of this show. Quickly, though, make sure that you do connect with Demille on all his social channels. He's on Instagram. He's on LinkedIn, active on LinkedIn. He's got his YouTube channel. Check out his website, Demille Studios. And again, we'll be putting up the Rise Up animation link in the show notes with all the rest of this stuff. So make sure you hop on over to the YouTube channel. If you caught a little bit of this late, check out the episode, connect with him, check out all the other links we'll be putting there for sure, and definitely reach out to Demille because he's a great guy.
Thank you.
And please, like I said, make sure that you get up all the show notes and be a part of the community as well, because you'll definitely be able to connect with him. He's active in the Facebook group, so make sure you join that as well. But everybody, please, again, like I said, help me thank my bro. I can honestly say my brother now. I could before, but me and Demille have built up this friendship over the past year and a half, and since he's been on and we connected, and like I said, I am just always so thrilled to watch his journey and the work that he's putting into his dreams. So everybody, please help me thank again Mr. Demille. Hang out in the green room, Demille, while I close out the show, bro. Everybody, I hope that you have enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed it. Man, I love when Demille comes on, and I even love when he stops by. He's always a supporter of his show. He's, regardless of whether he's on the show or not, he's always in the audience, participating, being a part of it, and he supported the show from day one. So I can't thank him enough. As well. That's why, like I said, like I tell him, like I tell all the guests, for me, it's about building friendships. And I can honestly say everybody that has come on the show, I can call friend and continue to be a friend. So I appreciate everybody that supports the show and always shows up and is a part of the show for sure. Miss Leontine, inspirational. Great to see Demille back on the show for sure. He's definitely going to be on many more times for sure. Mr. Michael, appreciate you, Demille. Great discussion. Thanks for sharing. I knew Demille was going to bring great value for sure. Miss Amanda, great stuff, Demille. Appreciate that. And Mr. Dwayne, appreciate that great presentation, Demille, for sure. And thank you, Don. I appreciate that, bro. And like I said, this doesn't stop here. This continues on and on and on. And next week is no exception, because that's going to be another great episode. So make sure that you tune in next week, because next week's guest is going to be fire as well. Miss Amanda Price, who was in the audience, visual effects compositor, and she has been working on some amazing films as of late. So it's going to be another great episode. So definitely don't want you to miss out on that. So with that, like I said, I can't thank all of you enough for stopping by. Um, I always get energy from doing this show and really connecting with all of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being a part of the episode. With that, like I said, we can close this show out. It's been a fun one. Make sure you have a great rest of your Saturday, a great Easter weekend, and I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Cheers, everybody.